Coronation Street airs a game-changing conversation between Will Driscoll and Tim Metcalfe tonight, after Will planned to flee to France with groomer Megan Walsh. In yesterday's episode, Will left the cobbles after agreeing to live with his mum in Scotland. Unbeknownst to his family, he had already made plans to leave the country with Megan after stealing £2,000 from his dad's safe. During a conversation, Ben told Steve that he was dreading dropping his son off at the train station, so Steve suggested Tim for the job. After an emotional goodbye, Will got into Tim's cab and headed for the train station, where it was revealed that he planned to take the train to the airport. Today's episode opens in the cab, with Tim receiving a notification that the train to Glasgow had been cancelled. When Will insists that they head for the station anyway, Tim becomes suspicious. Having also seen that Will's train is cancelled, Ollie tries to call him. After Ben realizes Will's passport is missing, he panics and tells Steve to message Tim, instructing him not to let Will out of his sight. In the cab, Tim tells Will all about his relationship with Trisha, saying how much he enjoyed it at the time, but how he's come to realize that technically he was a victim of rape. "She took advantage of me," Tim says. "Whether I knew it or not, whether I enjoyed it or not. And I did enjoy it. What lad wouldn't?" After Will claims they're in love, Tim senses some regret in the teenager and drives him to the police station, urging Will to go in and tell the truth. "I don't care about Megan," says Tim. "I care about you. So does your dad and Eva. All you've got to do is tell the truth." Tim says he wasn't brave enough to tell the truth about his abuse, telling Will that his family have been through hell. Tim watches on as a nervous Will enters the station. Will is shocked to find Ben, Eva, Maggie, and Ollie waiting for him. Later this week, Tim will come to terms with his own abuse, as he finally confronts evil Trisha Marlowe over her historic grooming after realizing he was also groomed as a teenager by an older woman. As the rain poured across Weatherfield and the streetlights flickered against the wet cobbles, Coronation Street delivered one of its most game-changing episodes yet in an early ITVX release. And fans were left stunned by the emotional collision between Will and Tim. Tim Metcalfe had always been the dependable man of the street. Loyal, funny, and fiercely protective of his family, he carried the kind of warmth that made people trust him instantly. But in this dramatic new chapter, that trust was shattered when Will returned with secrets capable of destroying everything Tim had built. The episode opened quietly, almost deceptively calm. Sally noticed Tim acting strangely at breakfast, distracted by a string of unanswered phone calls. His smile faded every time his phone buzzed. Meanwhile, Will stepped back into Weatherfield after months away, dressed sharply but carrying the unmistakable tension of someone hiding far more than he was willing to say. At first, residents believed Will's return was harmless. A few awkward conversations in the Rovers, a tense glance exchanged with Tim, and whispers spreading through the cafe created an atmosphere thick with suspicion. But nobody expected the truth that followed. The turning point came midway through the episode when Tim confronted Will behind the garage. Rain hammered the metal roof as Tim demanded answers about the mysterious messages. Will finally snapped, revealing that he had uncovered evidence linking Tim to a devastating mistake from years earlier, a mistake that indirectly ruined a family and forced Will to leave Weatherfield in disgrace. The revelation hit like thunder. Tim, normally calm under pressure, completely broke down. His voice trembled as he admitted he had hidden the truth to protect his loved ones. For the first time in years, viewers saw Tim stripped of his humor and confidence, replaced by guilt and fear. The performance was raw, emotional, and unforgettable. But the biggest shock was still to come. Instead of exposing Tim publicly, Will offered him a dangerous ultimatum: confess everything himself or risk losing Sally, his reputation, and possibly his freedom. The power dynamic instantly shifted. Tim was no longer the strong family man holding everything together. He was trapped. Back on the street, Sally sensed something was terribly wrong. Her heartbreaking conversation with Tim near the end of the episode became one of the most emotional moments of the year. She pleaded with him to tell her the truth, reminding him that lies always destroy families in Weatherfield eventually. Tim looked seconds away from confessing before Will appeared silently across the road, watching from the shadows like a ghost from the past. The final scene changed everything. Tim entered the Rovers to find several residents staring at their phones. A video had been uploaded anonymously online exposing fragments of the old scandal. Gasps spread around the pub as Sally slowly realized Tim was connected to it. Her face fell in disbelief while Tim stood frozen, unable to defend himself. Then the screen cut to black. The early ITVX release immediately exploded across social media, with fans praising the darker storytelling and cinematic tone of the episode. Many called it one of the strongest Tim-centered stories in recent Coronation Street history. Others speculated that Will may not be acting alone, and that an even bigger villain could still be pulling the strings behind the scenes. What made the episode so powerful wasn't just the shocking twists, it was the emotional realism underneath them. Tim's desperation felt painfully human. Will wasn't portrayed as purely evil either. Instead, he seemed driven by years of resentment and unresolved pain. That complexity gave the storyline far more depth than a standard soap rivalry. The episode also marked a major turning point for the future of Weatherfield. Relationships are now hanging by a thread. Sally may never forgive Tim if the full truth comes out, while Will's return has reopened wounds many residents thought were buried forever. As credits rolled, one question remained. Can Tim survive the storm that's finally caught up with him, or has Will already destroyed his life beyond repair? One thing is certain, Coronation Street has raised the stakes dramatically, and Weatherfield may never be the same again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation Street Scoop News Update.